Can't get enough BYU football? Listen to Cougar Nation. Mitch Harper takes your calls Monday nights from 6 to 7 on KSL News Radio. Podcast at kslnewsradio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It is 1st and 12. Alex Kirry, Mitch Harper. Thanks for being with us. Our program, of course, airs every Sunday, 10 to noon, right here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone 97.5. But also, you can download the podcast. Why don't you just do yourself a favor? Do what everybody does. The kids do it these days, Mitch. They listen to podcasts. That's how they stay up to date on sports and also just on anything else. It has anything to do with anything on the planet. That's how you can dial in and listen. So download the podcast, 1st and 12, every week. It's all brought to you by Macy's. Happy shopping. Mitch, BYU versus Texas. You're, of course, down there in Austin. You're still down there in Austin. Happy travels today back, by the way. But the loss, 35-6, could be a little bit – I don't want to be that guy that goes, yeah, the score made it look like it was worse than it really was. But that's the case. You and I both, we try not to go too far into anything before we actually get to talk about this on the program. But I thought Jay Hill's defense did a phenomenal job of holding off a very, very good Texas team all day. I think it was a massive victory at those goal lines to beat them on those fourth and shorts and on 4th and goal. I think on one of them, 4th and 1, they could have still converted a first down. I mean, BYU was penetrating into the backfield. They had, I think, 7 TFLs and a sack. They were ready at the line of scrimmage for Texas. You can't say the same thing about the offense. They just looked horrendous today. Or yesterday.
Offense was bad once again. I mean, offense let BYU down again, and they go on the road and come into Texas, and it was just a no-show. And didn't help matters that L.J. Martin was out, and he's dealing with an injury. And it's interesting, last week, when asked about L.J. Martin in the postgame, Kalani kind of downplayed it and didn't think it was much of anything, and that's why Aiden Robbins closed out the game. Well, clearly it was something as he's now dealing with an injury, and he's out. He did go through warm-ups, but still he would not have changed the outcome. BYU's offense has some serious issues, and they showed some moments where they were a little bit more aggressive going for it on 4th down, but there was just never any threat for Texas. And I think that was one of the reasons why Steve Sarkisian wanted Malik Murphy in that offense to go for it on 4th and 2s. Even though they were up by 15 at 21-6, you felt like go for the field goal and it's going to be a 3-possession game. He just knew that BYU's offense was not a threat to go 98 yards, so might as well go for it and give Malik Murphy and that young offense some confidence. They couldn't do it. And credit to the BYU defense for stepping up and trying to show up and give the offense a chance. The takeaway from Crew Wakely, the forced fumble from Zay Banya, who showed up. I mean, we were talking on your show, JJ and Alex, on Friday, and that was a guy that said got to show up, and he did. And I think BYU defensively can build on what they did, but offensively there's a lot of questions and not enough answers. And you're now heading into the final month of the season where you feel like, what do you turn to at this offense? Because I don't think they feel like there's anything of confidence right now heading into the final month.
Yeah, and I think that the reality has hit too. That 5-3 is that's an okay record right now, but looming are 4 really, really tough games. That bottom line, you're not going to be favored in one of those, Mitch. I don't know. You tell me. I don't think that they're going to be favored in any of these games the rest of the way. I think the only Big 12 game they were favored in was that Cincinnati game, and it was, a -1, and Cincinnati has turned out not to be very good. I mean, it's going to be – they're going to be scratching and crawling for that 6th win, dude. Like, I don't know if BYU fans – I don't know if their hearts can take it, man, because it really – to get to 5-2 and honestly be looking at the rest of the schedule and go – I don't know how you're going to score enough points to be able to get to the spot where you can win a dang football game, even if you're at home. So it was wild, too. I will, what was it, a 9-minute? Was it a 9-minute drive in the third quarter? And I thought, this is very interesting because BYU hasn't done this all year. And they're doing it in Austin? Like, it seems strange. Something got figured out a little bit, at least with the run game in the second half. I don't know if they decided, hey, they're doing X, and so let's do Y. There was more of a push in the second half. And they were, I think before before the 2 sacks in the second half, it ended up being, they got under the 100-yard mark overall, but I think they were at 108 total rushing before they got back under again with those sacks, which is just demoralizing. But they ran the ball a little bit more effectively than they have against other teams. No matter, though, the biggest thing, again, I mean, my heavens, 3rd downs, 2 for 13 on the day. They don't even crack 300 yards again. I mean, they have a hard time getting to 300 yards a game, Mitch. And at this point, this is your identity until we see otherwise. BYU's offense is just abysmal, and it's so embarrassing, I think, to have guys like Isaac Rex or Chase Roberts or Darius Lassiter, who had a nice game yesterday. You have all these dudes that can make plays for you, a massive back in Aiden Robbins, a flashy new guy, freshman in LJ Martin, a veteran quarterback who's got over 11,000 yards passing, and you can't scrum together 300 yards on a weekly basis, and you scored 6 points again yesterday, and it just doesn't help your total. You're already well on your way to be at the very bottom of the conference in terms of the offense, but it's really the bottom of the country. And that's a head scratcher. And Kalani said it yesterday, and we'll hear a little bit of it next on his comments. But when he said, that's my buddy who's running the offense over there. I trust him. He was an old teammate of mine. It's starting to get real shaky, I think, for folks and Aaron Roderick.
It is, and Roderick deserves a lot of the blame, I think, right now. And you can also point some of the blame on Keaton Slovis too. Should BYU have maybe just went with Jake Retzlaff to get a look? I think that with this game, Slovis gets a little bit of the benefit of the doubt because of the opponent. But I'm telling you, Alex, if these struggles continue against West Virginia, who we know following this league week in, week out has been pretty solid this season. But they're no Texas in terms of talent. So no. You got to perform, and now you're getting to the threshold too where, hey, 4 games for Jake Retzlaff, you can play him, and it's not going to hurt his eligibility. So Keaton Slovis is on notice too because the month of October was not pretty. He had 3 games. None of those games he ended up over 200 yards. So that has to improve the passing game, and it doesn't help matters when at the last 5 minutes or so of the game, Chase Roberts is being examined by trainers with a left hamstring, and it's just things are mounting up for BYU's offense. It's not going well. But the good thing is, as we talked about, the defense, I feel confident that they're a group that's going to at least get you 2 takeaways a game. And they did that yesterday, and I feel like they're going to continue to be an opportunistic group. Jay Hill has done an outstanding job with this defense. You look at some of the stats, too. 6 of 11 on 3rd downs for Texas. You want to improve that number, great. But still, I feel like there's a feeling of playmakers are emerging on the defense, and they can make big-time plays, which was something that wasn't happening the past few years. And I thought they rose the occasion in stretches against a Texas program that you would think would just maul BYU in the trenches, and that wasn't the case. And I feel like that's something you can definitely build on. You tell me, but I watched Atunai Samaje have a really good game. Yeah. He was penetrating. He was getting off the ball, and it was like he knew, I got to show up. I got to get some penetration into the backfield here. And the whole D-line, I think, did a pretty darn good job. And it wasn't even just mixing up, creative stunts or anything like that. They were beating their guys, Mitch. It was really good. I do have to nitpick. I think one really underrated bad moment of the game for BYU that you look back and go coulda, woulda, shoulda was on Crew Wakely's interception when he gets down. I don't know where he ended up. I think it was at the 10. And when that flag came out, 10. It was at the Texas 10, and you know where I'm going with this, but the Max Tooley illegal block, the crack block during the return, which was unnecessary because it was behind the play. I think he just is an aggressor, he just wants to get after dudes. It ended up putting BYU at their own 45, which was a death sentence. Especially knowing where that offense was. So then it became the defense gets demoralized. You turn over the ball, and your offense isn't going to move. You stop a 4th and goal, and you're going to be punting from the end zone in 2.5 minutes, right? That's demoralizing when you look up and it's 95 degrees on the sideline. You look up and you see
Ryan Rico already punting in your own end zone where you just stopped the offense of Texas and you go, oh my gosh, we got to go back out there again, like immediately, So those are that was a play that was a positive and a huge negative, all wrapped up in one. It was a killer, and I think it was underrated in the moment because you're like, oh, nice takeaway for BYU. Oh, bummer, they're at their own 45. I remember looking and going, they're not moving anywhere past midfield.
That's so true, and I think another underrated thing from the game, Alex, that it's not a huge storyline, but it was just subtle when every yard mattered, was the return game decisions. Keelan Marion, Parker Kingston. Kick returns and punt returns. They were returning the ball basically at the goal line. It's like, guys, you can just fair catch it, and you're going to go back to the 25. They would return it, and then they're starting at the 15. Decisions like that were just so costly for BYU in a game where those 10 yards are critical. It seems minimal, but it was just a big deal for BYU, and they got to get better from that. And, you'll hear from Kalani Sitake coming up next. We got to take a break. First and 12 brought to you by Macy's Grocery Store. Get the freshest fruits and vegetables from local farms and your favorite local brands. Macy's, happy shopping. How does Kalani react to this loss to Texas, 35-6? You'll hear from the head man next. It's First and 12 here on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.